Think you know the true story of pioneer women? Forget everything you've heard. For too long, they've been painted with a single romanticized brush, frail figures in bonnets, passively following their husbands into the wilderness. But what if I told you their lives were far more complex, filled with unseen hardships and triumphs that defy those simplistic narratives? We're peeling back the layers of myth to reveal the raw, unvarnished truth of their struggles and resilience. You'll be shocked by what history books often leave out. This isn't another soft-focused tale. We're diving deep into the untold realities of their daily grind, their incredible ingenuity, and the sheer grit it took to survive. Their true story is far more compelling than any fiction. Prepare to have your understanding of their historical impact completely transformed. Let's start by tearing down the biggest myth of all, the romanticized veil. We've all seen the movies and read the books. The brave man, the rugged individualist, forging a new life with his supportive wife just a few steps behind. This image is powerful, but it's dangerously incomplete. It reduces pioneer women to background characters in their own lives. Popular media has sold us a story of damsels in distress who were occasionally brave, but the reality is that they weren't just helpers. They were co-builders, innovators, and the very backbone of westward expansion. They weren't just surviving, they were strategizing. They weren't just enduring hardship, they were actively shaping the future. The heroic narrative we've been fed often glosses over the brutal, dirty, and exhausting truth of their existence. It's time to go beyond the bonnet and look at the real daily grind. Imagine your day from sunup to sundown is a marathon of relentless physical labor. This was the norm for pioneer women. Long before the men even returned from the fields or hunting, a woman's work had already filled hours. It wasn't just churning butter and baking bread, though that was part of it. We're talking about hauling gallons of water, sometimes over long distances just for cooking, cleaning, and drinking. We're talking about tending a massive vegetable garden, which was the primary food source for the family. They were responsible for preserving every bit of that food for the harsh winters, canning, drying, salting. The stereotype of the delicate domestic goddess completely falls apart when you look at the evidence. Diaries and letters from the time describe women helping to build their own homes, plastering walls with mud and straw, and even felling trees. They managed livestock, doctored sick animals, and often took charge of the entire farm or homestead when their husbands were away for weeks or months on cattle drives, trading trips, or fighting in conflicts. Their work wasn't just inside work. It was agricultural, it was construction, it was business management. And they did all of this while also making soap from ash and animal fat, spinning wool into yarn, weaving cloth, and sewing every single piece of clothing for the family by hand. There were no convenience stores. If you needed something, you made it. This wasn't a hobby, it was a matter of survival, demanding a level of ingenuity and resourcefulness that is almost unimaginable today. But the challenges they faced weren't just physical. The psychological toll was immense, and it's a part of the story that is so often ignored. Imagine the crushing isolation. You've left behind your entire support system, your parents, your siblings, your friends. Your nearest neighbor might be miles away, a distance you'd have to cross on foot or by wagon. The silence of the prairie or the vastness of the forest could be deafening. With that isolation came a constant gnawing fear. Fear of disease with no doctors nearby. Fear of failed crops, which meant starvation. Fear of accidents, dangerous wildlife, or conflict. And perhaps the most profound fear of all was the constant threat of loss. Child mortality rates were heartbreakingly high. Women gave birth in rustic cabins with no medical assistance, often losing their babies or their own lives. They watched their children and husbands fall ill to diseases we now easily cure. This constant proximity to death and the grief that came with it was an invisible burden they carried every single day. Yet they persevered. They developed a mental fortitude that is nothing short of heroic. In the absence of formal medicine, they became skilled healers. They cultivated knowledge of herbal remedies, learning from Native American neighbors or passing down wisdom through generations. They set broken bones, stitched wounds, and nursed their families through terrifying illnesses. They faced blizzards, droughts, floods, and fires, adapting and rebuilding with a strength that defies belief. This wasn't just resilience. It was a masterclass in psychological survival. Faced with such overwhelming challenges, pioneer women learned a vital lesson. They couldn't do it alone. The myth of the rugged individualist is just that, a myth. In reality, community and solidarity, especially among women, were the keys to survival. This sisterhood of the frontier was a powerful, life-saving network. Women relied on each other for everything. They formed quilting bees and sewing circles, which were not just social gatherings, but crucial production lines for essential goods. More importantly, they were spaces to share knowledge, comfort, and emotional support. They created a system of mutual aid. When a woman was about to give birth, other women from the community would gather to assist, cook, and care for her other children. If a family's barn burned down, neighbors would rally to help rebuild it. If a mother died, other women would step in to help raise her children. This wasn't just kindness, it was an informal, essential social safety net. This unique environment also fostered a surprising degree of independence. With their husbands often absent, women became the de facto heads of their households. They made financial decisions, managed property, and defended their homes. This experience subtly chipped away at traditional Victorian gender norms that confined women to the domestic sphere. They proved day in and day out that they were just as capable, strong, and intelligent as men. And this newfound confidence and competence had ripple effects. It's no coincidence that the first places to grant women the right to vote were Western territories and states. These were places where women's contributions were undeniable, where their strength was on full display. They were quiet participants in the early movements for social and political change, their actions speaking louder than any protest march. So it's time for a legacy reclaimed. For too long, history has relegated these women to the footnotes, defining them only by their relationships to men, as wives, mothers, and daughters of pioneers. But they were pioneers in their own right. They were farmers, builders, doctors, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. They didn't just follow the trail, they helped blaze it. Their labor wasn't just supportive, it was foundational to the establishment of new communities and the economic development of the West. Reevaluating their impact means seeing them as central figures, not sidekicks, in the story of America. Their legacy isn't just about the past. Their struggles for resilience, their ingenuity in the face of scarcity, and their creation of supportive communities are incredibly relevant today. They teach us about self-sufficiency, the importance of community bonds, and the quiet strength it takes to build a better future against all odds. Let's commit to remembering and honoring their true, multifaceted contributions. Let's tell their stories, not the romanticized myths, but the raw, difficult, and inspiring truths of the women who truly built the West. Thank you so much for watching. If this video changed the way you think about pioneer women, please hit the like button and subscribe for more untold stories from history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.